Hello, dear students. Welcome to another lesson in psycholinguistics. This is the lesson number 9. Okay. Again, this is the second lesson in first and second language acquisition. This lesson is about cognitivism. Okay. So, in the late 50s, learning theory began to make a shift away from the use of behavioral models to an approach that relied on learning theories and models from the cognitive science. As you may know that, and we explained, of course, in the previous video, um, behaviorism relied on this stimulus response theory. So learning according to this theory, according to behaviorism, learning is mechanical. Okay. However, this shifted away, okay, to more of a cognitive science. So this new theories, you know, that is the shift to a theory that relies on cognition rather than stimulus response, rather than mechanical way of learning. So this shift from behavioral orientation, where the emphasis is on promoting student overt performance by the manipulation of stimulus material, to cognitive orientation, where the emphasis is on promoting mental processing. So there is this mental processing which is neglected by the behaviorists. This has created a similar shift from procedures of from procedures for manipulating the materials to be presented by an instruction system to procedures for directing students processing and interaction with the instruction design system. So psychologists and educators begin to de-emphasize a concern with overt observable behavior and stressed instead more complex cognitive processes such as thinking, problem solving, okay, concept formulation, and information processing. So according to cognitivism, how does learning occur? So learning is equated with discrete changes between states of knowledge rather than with changes in the probability of response. As we have seen with behaviorism, um, learning according to them is based on change in the performance, okay, in the response. However, with uh, cognitivism, it has to do with the state of knowledge. Okay, so cognitive theories focus on the conceptualization of students' learning processes and address the issues of how information is received, okay, organized, stored, and retrieved by the mind. So learning basically is concerned not so much with what learners do, but with what they know and how they came or come to acquire it. See, knowledge acquisition is described as a mental activity that entails internal coding and structuring by the learner. So the learner is viewed as very active participant in the learning process, which is not the case in behaviorism. Now, which factors influence learning according to cognitivism? So, like behaviorism, emphasis or cognitivism emphasizes the role that environmental conditions play in facilitating learning. So, both when it comes to the factors that influence learning, behaviorism and cognitivism um, give emphasis to environmental conditions both and learners. Of course, so the cognitive approach focuses on mental activities of the learner that lead up to a response and acknowledges the process of mental planning, okay, goal setting, and organizational strategies. Cognitive theories focus on the way that learners attend to, code, transform, rehearse, store, and retrieve information. Learners' thoughts, beliefs, attitudes, and values are also considered to be influential in the learning process. This is something that we haven't seen with behaviorism and which is very important in cognitivism. So the real focus of the cognitive approach is on changing the learner by encouraging them to use appropriate learning strategies. Now, concerning the memory, memory is given a prominent role in the learning process. Learning results when information is stored in memory in an organized, meaningful manner. So teachers are responsible for assisting learners in organizing that information in some optimal way. Teachers use techniques, for example, advanced organizers, analogies, hierarchical relationships, and matrices to uh, help learners relate new information to prior knowledge. So forgetting is the inability to retrieve information. Is not, as we have seen it um, with behaviorism. For them, uh, forgetting is non-use of response, non-use of words, etc. Here, it is about the inability to retrieve information from memory. So cognitivism believe in this um, storing information in memory, and forgetting is not being able to retrieve that information or certain information from memory because of interference. We're going to see memory loss, so interference. We have memory loss, missing or inadequate cues needed to access information. Okay, how does transfer occur? According to cognitive theories, transfer is a function of how information is stored in memory. Shank 1991. When a learner understands how to apply knowledge in different contexts, then transfer has occurred. So according to cognitivism, transfer occurs when when you have the ability to apply knowledge in different contexts. Prior knowledge is used to establish boundary constraints for identifying the similarities and differences of novel information. Not only must the knowledge itself be stored in memory, but use of that knowledge as well. Okay, so the use has to do with using knowledge. That's how you know um, information is stored in the memory, and you can retrieve it whenever you want to use it. So specific instructional or real-world events will trigger particular responses, but the learner must believe that knowledge is useful in a given situation before they will activate it. Now we're moving to another question, which is about how types of learning or what types of learning are best explained by this theory. Cognitive theories are usually uh, considered more appropriate for explaining complex forms of learning, like reasoning, problem solving, information processing, etc. So the actual goal of instruction is to communicate or transfer knowledge to the students in the most efficient, effective manner possible, according to Binar 1991. So two techniques used in the achieving this effectiveness and the efficiency of knowledge transfer are simplification and standardization. Okay, so these two techniques. Knowledge can be analyzed, decomposed, and simplified into basic building blocks. For example, knowledge transfer um, is expedited if irrelevant information is eliminated. So, for example, trainees attending a workshop on an effective management skills would be presented with information that is sized and checked in such a way that they can assimilate and accommodate the new information as quickly as and as easily as possible. So cognitivists would stress efficient processing strategies. Okay, this is very important. Now, what basic assumptions or principles of this theory that are relevant to instruction design. So we have the emphasis on the active involvement of the learner in the learning process. According to cognitivism, learner should be active in the learning process. Okay, so learner control, metacognitive training like self-planning, monitoring, and revising techniques. Okay, use of hierarchical analysis to identify and illustrate prerequisite relationships like cognitive task analysis procedures. Okay, emphasis on structuring, organizing, and sequencing information to facilitate optimal processes. For example, the use of cognitive strategies such as outlining, summaries, synthesizers, advanced organizers, etc. And creation of learning environments that allow and encourage students to make connections with the previous learned material, previous learned knowledge, etc., like recall of prerequisite skills, use of relevant examples, analogies, etc. Now, what should instruction be structured? How? Sorry, how should instruction be structured? Cognitive theories emphasize making knowledge meaningful and helping learners organize and relate new information to existing knowledge in memory. So the most important thing is to make knowledge meaningful so that the students can process it, organize it, and store it, okay, in their mind, in the memory. Instruction must be based on students' existing mental structures or schema to be effective. It should organize information in such a manner that learners are able to connect new information with existing knowledge in some meaningful way. So analogies and metaphors are examples of this type of cognitive strategies. So teachers should use analogies and metaphors which help students process knowledge and store it in memory. Cognitivists emphasize that major tasks of the teacher include: one, understanding that individuals bring various learning experiences to learning situations which can impact learning outcomes. That's number one. Number two, determining the most effective manner in which to organize and structure new information to tap the learner's previously acquired knowledge, abilities, and experiences. So we should find the most effective manner to help students organize, structure, and structure new information to the previous acquired knowledge, new knowledge to the previous acquired one. Arranging practice with feedback so that the new information is effectively and efficiently assimilated and accommodated within the learner's cognitive structure. That's number two. That's number three. All right. So thank you very much for your attention and see you in the next video.